Y'all see it. Y'all see the volume cover. Kagurabachi. Weekly chapter came out. I'm a little late, obviously. It's Friday by the time this is uploaded. Most likely, maybe even Saturday. The point is, the chapter's here. And the video is here. So that's what's important. But anyway, let's move on to what's actually going on in the chapter. So Azami is obviously crashing out on everyone else because he sees that there are people who killed Chihiro's father in his presence. And he's like, you know what? I'm finna crash out. Just brute strength. He already caught himself 2 bodies. He's on to the 3rd. Now, with Hakuri recovering and being into the elevator of one of the elites of the Kabunabi, it made me realize, and also as we read the chapter, we realize that they have a bunch of traitors. Like, it's not just one person who's a traitor. Every single Kabunabi elite and their like henchmen, that the group that they control, all have traitors in them. And every single one of them committed, seppuku or whatever the case may be, so they can trigger the sorcery that the Hat Hishaku had left behind, which is to try to get rid of as many people as possible. And it's like, they're like ticking time bombs. They're just going in, getting rid of as many people as possible, and they're going on to the next thing. And all the people who are betraying the Kabunabi, you have to understand is that they give up their life for it, because the Hishaku told them that we will take care of your family, we'll make sure that they're okay. And so in order for those things to happen, they're blackmailing the members that were betraying the Kabunabi, and then giving them a sorcery that basically upon death just blows up and blooms into a big tree. So they're trying to take out as many people as possible. But what's interesting is that it seems that all of the people that the Kabunabi chose to betray are members who participated in the war, or at least to my knowledge so far, it seems it would be fair to assume that a lot of them were participating in the war when the Enchanted Blades were out. And it sucks because that one guy who has the mask on, to which I hope he's not actually dead, because we didn't get to see him do anything, unless, like, it didn't matter, to which I think that's crazy, that we just gave up a character just because without seeing anything about him. But, Hakuri, this is really his time to shine. Those 2 people who tried to kidnap him to take him in, because what's really interesting is that Yura is such a master manipulator to the point that he planned everything out to the point where they were like, we're going to kidnap Hakuri because he's the only one who can transfer the sword and the sword user into the storehouse. So on top of that, their goal was to use him as bait and then lure the other elite members and use the betrayal tactic they've been using, and that's how they're going to take him down from the inside, and that's crazy tactical work. That's crazy tactical work. And then you have all the Hishaku members, which are basically elite members as well, equal to Kabunabi elites, except for Shiba and Azami. Those are the only 2 where if you run up on them, you should probably run away. And it's been assumed from the beginning. When Sojo was like, I can fight all these other people, but once he saw that Shiba and Azami was there, he was like, I'm going to lose. He knew. He just knew. And that's how it is in the Kabunabis. So I'm not concerned about Azami. I'm not concerned about Shiba, because those 2 are heavy hitters. But what I am concerned about is all the elites, like that elderly man who's also a combat sorcerer who is also fighting. I'm concerned about him as well, because there's so many people. Excuse me. There's so many people who are combat specialists. Hiyuki, Azami, Shiba, the old man, the elite group that came to fight Sojo, that are the remaining members that are left alive. Hakuri, Chihiro. Samura technically is a applicable piece here because it's a 3-way deadlock, but Samura's goal will align with what the Kabunabi are trying to do currently. Because in order to get to the Sword Master and the Sword User, the Sword User and the Sword itself, the Shinichi, Samura needs to know where it's at. He needs to know what's happening on its way to get there. He has to make sure his daughter is safe. So temporarily, they have to be in alliance. And then I wonder if it'll switch once he gets that information. Will the Hishaku and Samura temporarily be in alliance? And that's really important to understand. And I think that this is a really pivotal time to include all the other Enchanted Blade users. We saw that Samura has been trying to kill them one by one, and to me, it's like, I feel like not necessarily, I'm going to say a waste of an opportunity, because there are so many other pieces we could use with the sword bearers that are left over. We saw the Tobimune, we saw the Kumayori, the Cloud Gouger, we saw Enten, which is not even a part of the original. So we still have other swords left over. We saw the Shinichi in the hands of someone who is not the excuse me, in the hands of someone who's not the owner of the said sword, and it clearly almost, well, it basically killed him from utilizing it. And so the problem is that we have to be able, in my opinion, this is what it's all about, is the swords themselves. So I think we've seen all the sword bearers. We've seen them physically. We've never seen them interact. We've never seen their sword styles. We've never seen them fight. We just know who they are at this point. And we don't know what the sword can do for each sword, but that's just what it is. And so we need to make sure, I feel like from a story perspective, we have to make sure that those things are included. Because if there's no representation for the sword bearers, what is the point of doing it? Samura wants to get rid of every single sword bearer in order for the contract with the original sword user with the Shinichi, so that way they can kill him and no one else dies. But why would we waste such big pillars? Even the Enten was not a part of the original group, and yet the Enten takes a lot more importance in the swords that are used even to seal the sword master. And I think that's critical information, because I want to know how each sword operates for the sorcery to work. And then for all the Hishaku members, I don't know how strong the Hishaku members are. But nonetheless, if Azami can tell that, based off the sorcery of the guy in front of him, that that's one of the 3 people that was there when Chihiro's dad died, the plot thickens. Like, he's probably just as strong. They have to at least be, not Azami level, but maybe right underneath it, maybe like 2 levels underneath that. And that's for each Hishaku member that are elite members. Because Samura was still boxing with the wood guy, the hat Hishaku guy, and he was using other people as wood, and he was struggling still, even though he wasn't by himself. But every single member, I believe, is at least 2 to 3 steps below the elite fighters, and that's the route I'm going to stick with. And if Hakuri, towards the end of this chapter, realizing that he's finna get active, and it's like, this is very concerning in my opinion, because now it's like, instead of trying to eliminate all the people who have betrayed to get rid of them, we have to knock them unconscious. But nobody knows it except Hakuri right now. And so now he's basically one of the core fighters. Now he's one of the core fighters in this, and he's such a pivotal thing again. Because even in the last arc, where everything was going crazy, Hakuri was still a pivotal piece. Being able to move stuff in the storehouse, being able to teleport other people, being able to move people around, to hide the swords. Like, he's just been MVP day in and day out. And now that he's recovered and he can use Asao, although he can't use the full capability, he now has the double sorcery. He has the Asao and then he has the storehouse. That's bread and butter right there. He can do whatever he so pleases now. And he should be a core fighter. And I hope that the same way Hirohiko is a natural talent, I hope that Hakuri, through hard work, can achieve that form as he's fighting through some of the Hishaku members. But my biggest concern is Crash Out Azami. And if Shiba is, I've been thinking about this too, if Shiba is the person who betrayed Rokuhira, and that's the one who gave the location, and that's the Kabanabi traitor that's basically the elite, we have a problem. Because Shiba is the first person who was on the scene, the first person who picked up Chihiro, and so it's interesting if Shiba ends up being the antagonist. We might see Azami versus Shiba, or even, we might see Azami versus Shiba, and we get to a place where we actually see Shiba try, instead of basically aura farming and floating around the battlefield the whole time, which is insane to me. So I guess we'll see in the next chapter that's coming up. Kagurabachi's doing what I always said, you guys. It's fresh. It feels intentional. It feels intense. It's like a roller coaster that doesn't feel like you've been on the ride before. To me, it makes me think of Hunter x Hunter and Bleach if you had mixed the two together. And that's something that I think that no one's been able to replicate in terms of the art style, the feel. It gives me the same vibe as Chainsaw Man, and that's why it's going to be one of my favorite reads. And that's why every time a weekly chapter comes out, I'm putting this volume in my hand. This volume gets in my hand. You'll see that the volume's in my hand. You'll see the video I record with it. And then we go on to next week's chapter. Because truly, I think that this is something special. Just like Sakamoto Days is the same way. Just like One Piece is the same thing. Those are the 3 mangas that come out from Shonen Jump. Well, I lied. Kagurabachi, Sakamoto Days, One Piece, Chainsaw Man, Dawn to Dawn, and Kaiju number 8. Those 6 are really the things I look forward to reading the most. But if I had to pick the ones I look forward to reading the most on a weekly basis, it'd be Kagurabachi, Sakamoto Days, Dawn to Dawn, and Chainsaw Man. And that's because of the intensity and the roller coaster that they put us on. Like, One Piece will always be great, mind you. I'm always going to read my One Piece chapter. But there's something different about the way that these other series feel. There's like an unsettling undertone where like the main character does not feel, for all intents and purposes, the aura of death does not feel as heavy in One Piece when I read, personally, for me personally. Because I feel like someone will always get beaten, but someone may not always die. And I think that for all these other stories, death plays such a bigger piece, and it's such a overarching, it's like hanging over your head. Like, it's guaranteed going to happen, and the demeanor and the manner by how it's done, I think is really important. And so I think that's why Kagurabachi takes such a interesting place in my heart, especially for Sakamoto Days, especially for Dawn to Dawn, and especially Chainsaw Man with all the crazy stuff going on. I think that's why it sits so much higher when I'm anticipating my weekly reads. But nonetheless, with Kagurabachi, we're going to see N10 get to a new realm. And I can't wait for Chihiro to start boxing, because I'm waiting to see all the Kabanabi elite fighters, and I think you should too. But anyway, it's Kagurabachi Weekly Chapter. Y'all go outside, touch grass. Peace.